Ladies, if you haven't already signed up for our She Is Women's Conference happening on January 31st, I highly recommend you go to the description on this video and make sure that you click the link and sign up for some tickets for you and a friend. This is one night of just incredible worship, amazing teaching, really great community, and just a chance to meet other women who are in a similar place of life as you. So don't forget, do that now before it's too late. You still have some time. So again, link in the description. Hey, I'm Kela Whitfield, and I'm here with Karen Bergie.
Bergie.
I did that on purpose.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I'm like, really? This is how we're starting? Okay.
Karen,
Thank you.
what do you do at Flatirons?
Yeah, I am the executive pastor of campuses at Flatirons. So I get to sort of help lead the campus pastors and help support the things that we do across all campuses where we do them consistently the same way. Kind of help all those things meld together. A little bit of cat herding, but that's my job, and I love it.
As we do as women sometimes.
It's kind of a female gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
Herding cats, herding people.
Or it's the thing that just nobody else wants to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I take great pride in being good at things that nobody else likes to do. So,
Well, cool. Before we get too far into this conversation, I want to just figure out who you are, paint a little picture of the powerful woman that is right here. So I have a couple questions for you.
okay, shoot.
First, this is like a personality test, so go with me on this.
Okay, I love those.
Three
I love
questions total, very short.
those. Okay.
Okay, so if you were an animal, and it has to be a real animal, not fictitious, what would you be?
The first thing that comes to mind is an otter.
Okay, let's just go with that one.
Okay. And part of the reason I say that is because I love personality tests. I've taken a million of them. There's actually one where you get an animal, and that's always how I come out, is otter. But it's that whole, like, I just rather have fun all the time. If we want to do something that's painful or serious or even probably like the world-changing kind of stuff, that's usually not the things that I gravitate towards.
Okay.
That whole concept of just living your life kind of swimming around and having fun and splashing. That's really kind of how I roll. That's who I am.
Okay, this is going to be so fun. Okay, so set that aside.
Okay.
I want you to imagine that this world currently, there are no otters. There's never been an otter ever to exist, and there will never be one. If you were an animal, what would you be?
Lion,
Okay.
which is so stupid when you think the otter on the other side of that. But it's like if I can't just swim around and have fun, then I'm freaking going to control everything.
Okay, last question. Lions don't exist. They never have.
my
They never
gosh.
will. What animal would you be?
A chimpanzee. I don't know the reasons for any of these answers. It's just what's popping in my head.
I love it.
They seem fun.
Okay, so the first, this is your result now.
Okay.
The first animal is how you wish to be perceived.
Ooh.
You hope people view you as fun, carefree, not that serious.
Okay.
The second animal is how people actually perceive you. So you want to be viewed as a otter, but you are actually perceived as a lion or lioness.
Okay.
And the third, which is kind of fun, the third animal is who you actually are, which is a chimpanzee.
Kind of makes sense. I know. But I feel like you just made all that up right on the
didn't.
spot. I think you did.
I learned it from TikTok, where all good things are.
Oh, that explains it. TikTok is ridiculous. So, a generational
I know.
divide here is what's happening.
I was told that at least on TikTok, it's like some kind of Russian personality test. That's what they told
As you
me.
were saying it, there was a part of it that I went, oh my gosh, I think that's kind of true.
Yeah, does any of that resonate with you? I'm super curious.
Yeah, it actually does. I think then I'm doing the thing of going, okay, what does it mean if I want to be perceived as an otter, but I'm not?
But you're still a chimpanzee, which is still kind of fun.
Yeah, and
or
chimpanzees,
vicious.
what do they say? They'll eat your face off.
Yeah, it's
That's
like-
why you can't have one for a pet.
I
So
think they're kind of vicious.
I sort of like that.
Well, and people view you as a lion too.
Yeah, so like a tiny bit of fear of me maybe is not a bad thing.
Maybe
And
more
maybe it's
than
a bad
tiny.
thing. I'm sure it says something horrible about who I am deep inside, but
No.
I'm going to call my therapist as soon
I
as
was
we're
gonna
done.
say, if anything, this conversation should end in both of us calling our therapist.
Yep, rightly so.
That's the goal of a good podcast.
Rightly so.
Okay, cool. Tell me a little bit about who you were in high school.
I was a band geek. I mean, that's easy. Yeah,
Really?
for sure. I was in band all the way through high school. I was the drum major at one point. So that whole I'm going to just control the crap out of everything, that's always been a part of me. But I was a good student. I'm also the oldest child. So there's a piece of I will succeed. I'm going to conquer everything. I'm going to be the best at everything. Didn't get in a whole lot of trouble, but I was also a little bit sneaky. So there's probably some trouble I should have gotten into that nobody ever knew about.
As one does.
Yeah, and that's a skill, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to paint
I
all my faults as good things.
Never would have pictured you as a drum.
Really?
Major. Never. I never, ever, ever would have.
You haven't been on our
chosen
staff long enough because there's a photo out there that floated around back when Throwback Thursday used to be a thing.
that. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't do that.
I hope I find it and it pops up right here on this podcast.
I'll have to resign and move out of state, but go ahead. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It's only fair that I get to ask you the same question. Who were you in high school?
Ooh. A lot of things. I grew up in a really small town, which lends itself to you just get to do all the things.
Yeah.
So there was like less of like a clique or like a group that I belonged to. So I was a athlete. I played a lot of sports. Basketball all my life.
Yeah.
Softball, cheerleading, track, all the things. I actually got second in state as a shot putter. Not
Wow.
many people know that.
Wow.
I know. Good times, glory days.
So we would not have been friends in high school.
well,
We were not traveling in the same circles.
I wouldn't say that. So I was also like, I did a lot of drama,
Okay.
lots of acting. I was part of FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America.
Nice.
Did some graphic design, which was fun. I was part of the yearbook, so I loved photography and learned like layout design. So I feel like I was all over the
Very
place.
well-rounded.
Yeah, and I would say like at the time, like cheerleader is like not who you think it was in small town America.
Okay.
It's like the girls who like didn't want to play sports and just like hang out, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't like the popular girls are the cheerleaders. It wasn't necessarily like that. I also have this like distinct memory where we had like an off block and I'm sitting in this like hallway with all the girls that I've grown up with since first grade. And the like queen bee person essentially like went around and like labeled each girl and like the role they play in the friend group. She got to me and said, Kela, I don't know. You're actually like a total black sheep and I don't know why we're your friend. And I was like, noted.
Ouch.
So I was like, that's stuck with me my entire life. But I would say like at the same time, I had always felt like I didn't quite belong with the athletes or the like great students. So there was this friend group that I clearly was not quite fitting in with since the time I was a child, I guess. And so I definitely secretly or like behind the scenes I was really good friends with like the party people.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I could just be who I was and they weren't pretending to be anyone else.
Yeah.
They were just them.
Yeah.
Messy, you know?
Yeah.
So I gravitated towards that side of things too. Had a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Made a
Interesting
lot
that
of
you
dumb
still have such a
choices.
vivid memory of that conversation with those girls.
I don't think that'll ever go away.
Yeah, I that's the kind of stuff that
shapes you as a person.
There's an imprint there. Yeah, for sure.
So I just recently took this assessment called the Primal Questions Assessment. Okay, so I just took this last week. There's 7 primal questions, right? That we've all been wondering. Like, one is like stands out for each of us, but it's like a core question of all humans.
Yes.
Mine was, am I wanted? Which I was like immediately saddened by. I was like, that feels pathetic, kind of, and like so sad, but also it resonated so deeply. And I immediately thought of that moment of like, I've been rejected in like some pretty
totally
big
makes
ways
sense.
by like female friends. That has just made it hard for me to be like, I don't think I'm wanted.
Totally makes sense.
I've heard that you've taken this assessment.
I have taken the assessment. I'm trying to remember what my question was now.
You don't remember?
I really don't. We did it in a car on the way somewhere. It was like just kind of a throwaway conversation.
I think they are.
I'll know if you tell me what they are.
Okay, so I think they are, am I secure? Am I safe? Am I wanted? Am I loved? Am I
successful?
Am I successful?
That's the one.
Or do I have purpose or something like that?
I think those are 2 different things. Yeah. But yeah, it was that's
Am I
what
successful?
It was. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is the way you are? Why are you the way that you are?
Why are you so messed up? I think I talked about like being the oldest child, I went to a really small school, so this is not as impressive as it sounds, but I was a valedictorian in high school. I was a drum major. For whatever reason, my parents were great, but somehow I think I got this understanding in my head that that's why they loved me and we were all good together and we had a good relationship, is because I did these things where I got accolades, where I was successful, where I achieved something. And they never said that to me, but it's something around all of that I interpreted as, oh, this is how your life is great. This is how your relationships are good, is if you succeed. If you get awards, I mean, all the things.
Yeah.
So when I took the test, I wasn't focused on it a lot because we were just kind of doing it on a lark. But when that was the answer, I knew immediately it was the right answer.
Yeah.
It was like, I know that about myself. So.
Wow. It kind of reminds me, so at Flatirons, we have this like women's conference. We have one coming up. She is what it's called. And I know that the reason it was titled that was it leaves a blank. She is blank. Because you fill in the blank with whatever identity kind of the world's given you. What are some common like identity statements that you feel like women wrestle with over your course of leadership or motherhood or whatever?
Yeah.
I'd be curious like what you feel like you've seen. And then personally for you, what are some labels or identities that you've wrestled with?
Yeah, I think that I have a lot of female friends and have had a lot of them over the years. And I think that there's a common theme, and then there are things that women carry specifically based on things that have happened to them that they hold on to. Some of the most difficult labels to get rid of, I think, are the things around parenting. What kind of mother are you? So that thing that played in the back of my mind for a long time is, geez, I don't want to be a bad mom. I don't want people to look at me and go, she's a bad mom. And that the hard part is that then you put that on your kids, because you start to look at them as like the things that they do in the places where they might need encouragement or they might need correction or they might just be little shits. But you look at it through the lens of, you're making me look like a bad mom.
Yeah.
So I think parenting is one of the biggest areas, certainly for me. And there's just the wife piece and the female piece. So there's the biggest labels around like what do you look like? You're not the right size. You're not the right age. Your hair's not good. I mean, it's and some of it's just stupid stuff, but those I think are the common ones that talking to almost any woman, you would hear some version of some of that. And then depending on the experience of your life, I think sometimes depending on relationships with parents and the way that you grew up, the unwanted, there's a never feeling really accepted in a family. It's maybe there's an infinite list of labels, really. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, I could go on forever. But some of them are very personal and specific. But for women, I think there are some that are just thematic. They're universal themes that we all struggle with.
Yeah, and some of those are perpetuated by culture
Yeah.
or communities, right? Like beauty
Yeah.
standards is definitely one. I know you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What about like in the workplace? You're a powerful woman. You have a lot of influence and leadership. Is there something that you see with women career-wise that you feel like they come across that you've seen?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a specific label that I could put a name to. I'm thinking about it now as you said that. But I think that in any workplace, and I see it in our set of female colleagues as well, you're always looking around wondering how do my leaders perceive me? I think
They
it's
perceive you as a lion, Karen.
I really want to be an otter. Can we? Now I'm getting like good with the lion thing now. I think I kind of like that. I don't want to be a chimpanzee anymore. Sorry, let's forget that piece. I think that women, and I see this really on the daily, are always wondering, how do my leaders perceive me? Do they see me as a future leader? Do they see me as influential? Do they see me as there's a good enough piece in there that's just sort of the generic term you could put over all of it? Do they see me as good enough to do greater things here? Am I part of the future? Could I have any job here?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's an innate core human need in that, right? To be wanted, to be accepted. It goes back to the primal questions. It's the primal needs in all of us. But yeah, am I going to be successful here? Am I good enough for here?
What about for you personally? Is there one label that you feel like you've wrestled with?
And I think it's specific to, in my role, it's specific to the job and the fact that it's a ministry position. But the thing that I have to like kind of do battle with over and over is, am I really qualified for this? From day one, I had this thing of like, I don't think I'm spiritual enough to be a pastor or to be on staff at a church. And by spiritual, I had some weird illegitimate idea in my head of, I don't know, I think it looked like a nun or something in my head, like super serious, no makeup, ugly shoes. Like there's a weird, I had a complete misinterpretation of what that should look like. But I just on paper, I'm like, I don't think I'm like a pastor person.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's not true, and I know what it all means and what it really means, but because it's sort of it's my tender spot, it comes up all the time, and I have to go back and go, well, but are you qualified to lead over there because you've never really done that role before? Sure. So so yeah, for me that's the ongoing battle.
It sounds like imposter syndrome. I've heard that term before.
100%.
I've heard it said that when you start to experience imposter syndrome, you're basically just finding yourself in new territory. And so really what it's saying is like, you're growing because you're in a different place. Yeah. And so to like, when you confront it, go like, oh, that means I'm on the right track. Like I'm trying something new and I'm being pushed into like a growth area.
That's really good.
What about your faith? Like, how has your faith, outside of like not just your career, obviously that's a huge piece of your life, motherhood. How has faith either labeled you, mislabeled you? I think that's pretty common in the church too. And then like, how do you rely on your faith to help you work through some of those like mislabels or lies? Yeah, is what they really are.
That's the question, right? That's what we all need to figure out. I grew up in a really conservative church. It was a great church. I met Jesus there. I don't want to diss on it. I'm thankful. Still love and know all those people pretty much. But the nature of the culture of the church led me to this place of my faith was a series of behaviors that either I didn't do and I had to make sure I stayed away from, or things that I did. Like if Christians do this, Christians don't do this. Consequently, I do not know how to dance, and I wish I did. You can't learn that when you're old. I'll just tell you that too. So faith for me in my early years, there was a struggle, and Jesus and I had a whole lot of conversations about, is that really about Jesus? Is that really about who you are? Or is that a religious thing that's been sort of stamped over it? But for me, I believed that that's what that made me, that my friends in high school, they perceived me as the church girl. No fun, no dancing, no drinking, no smoking. And then they would go, invite your friends to church. And I'm like, why would they want to come when there's, I was like, you can't do anything. But there was a point in adulthood where I began to meet, my circle of people that were believers became much larger. And I began to realize that's not at all what faith is. Those are labels outside of faith, outside of who God is. And then in my adult life, and I would say more so even in the last 15, 20 years, a real understanding a knowledge of who God is in a way that I never had before, completely flipped what I would tell you that faith is. And I don't know how it labels me now. I think you'd have to ask other people that, but I hope that it labels me as somebody who is welcoming and accepting of everybody. And, so you can be a Christian and still be fun. That's the thing I think about all the time. It's like, I like to do all kinds of fun things, let's play poker. And I guess breaking the mold a little bit of maybe what, I know there are lots of people out there that kind of live with the same label that I did about what it means to be a Christian.
Yeah.
To be a believer. So that has changed for me, my understanding of who God really is and who that means I really am. And I hope that externally what people would say about me then is different too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so good. One thing you mentioned is like, am I enough, or am I the right person for the job? And that probably shows up in parenting, I would imagine, as well, right?
Yeah.
Kids have a way of exposing that we're not enough at most things or all things. I'm curious, how has your relationship with Jesus informed how you approach that feeling of maybe not being enough? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I feel like it informs it and we grow. I don't know that we ever get done with it. At least I haven't to this point. But I will say this, in my adult life, there's just been a few things that have happened where I feel like I have taken a hit in terms of what I thought life was going to look like, what I thought family was going to look like, what I anticipated ever having to deal with, because I'm a Christian. There's some stuff that you'll just never have to worry about that. Well, that's not true. But what God has done, and the part that every day I'm amazed by, is that the things that have come up that were like, I don't know if I can survive this. I don't know how to survive this. I don't know what to do. Those are actually the things that have helped me the most, that have been the most enlightening, eye-opening, beneficial, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but when those kind of things happen where you're taken completely out of, I don't know what to do. All I know to do is sit on this couch and cry maybe, or scream or yell, or I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to go on. And everybody has some of those things. They're all different depending on what your situation is. But those things actually forced me into the place where I'm like, I never was going to be able to handle this. I was never going to be able to control this. It was never mine. And in parenting, that's maybe the biggest thing is you watch your kids, and my kids are great. I love my kids, but they make choices that maybe aren't the ones you would make or the ones that you hoped they would make. But hitting some of those spots where you have no choice but to go, this was never about me. This was always God's to hold.
Wow.
That's all you can do. But what I learned in that is now with smaller things, it's so freeing. You can take a breath when you're able to go, oh, that's not really mine either. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be okay with it and let that belong to Jesus.
That's so good.
Yeah. It's, God's grace in situations where you're like, the response is, it's just all you can do to survive, but it turns out it's the thing that you needed the most in order for your heart to change, for your faith to change. So,
yeah, that feels really biblical and to the heart of Jesus and transformation.
I think it is, and it comes out of not any sense of like, I've studied the Bible so much, here's what I know. The reality of when God works in your life, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
You've just lived through it.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation.
Thank you.
I know we tackled a lot of high-level identity stuff, and so I'm excited to have more conversations with you.
This was fun.
Good.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Good.